realize what you have to give up are things like, pasta. And I'm going, well, that's not so bad. I don't mind giving up pasta because I really just like the flavor that you put on the noodles anyway because, it's just filler. That's easy. Okay, I got to give up bread. Oh, well, wait a minute. I kind of like Italian bread. I like dipping in. I like those big, juicy cheeseburgers. And then I go, wait, I got to give up dairy. Well, I would keep a bottle of milk in the refrigerator, and I would go drink it when I was thirsty. I wouldn't go drink water. I'd go to the refrigerator and drink milk. And pizza. I have pizza 3 times a week. I'm going, okay, well, I got to do that. And then it was sugar. I go, wait a minute. Easter's coming up. And I love those little chocolate malted milk bars. I'm an addict for those things. And all of a sudden I said, hey, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to go all in. And the reality is that we all know that exercise and nutrition is the important basis. But most of us don't know how to do it. And that was what was happening to me in like 20 years. Because I didn't really know how to eat right. And so now these guys have introduced me to an easy way to do it. Here's the only problem, is that I'm a junk food addict. I can't have a little bit. I have been told my entire life, moderation, anything in moderation. Well, I'm sorry, I can't moderate an addiction. So what I did was what they asked. I cut out all of the bread. I cut out all of the pasta, I cut out all of the dairy, and I cut out all of the sugar. And I did nothing for 4 months but eat meat and vegetables. And I can't begin to tell you how difficult it was in the beginning. And the interesting thing is, the first 3 weeks, I lost 15 pounds. I went from 255 to 245 in the blink of an eye, and then all of a sudden I hit a plateau, and for 2 weeks I wasn't losing a pound. I'm watching anything I'm eating. I'm not eating anything except what I could eat. I mean, I'm talking about, here's one of the things with paleo is that as these guys are talking here, what he thinks is paleo and what you think is paleo are 2 totally different things. And if you get online and you take a look at all the paleo blogs, there's a crap load of gray area. But there's an everyday list that everybody agrees on. So for 4 months, I stuck to the everyday list. Now, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have ever thought about doing this and taking my shirt off in front of a bunch of strangers. I also would not have had the guts to show this. This was me on March 28th of this year. Okay? I've had a life-changing event, and that is paleo and CrossFit. And these guys have made it possible to do it. Now, the interesting thing about it is that what we have here is a recipe. And I know that some of you cook and some of you do different kinds of things, but if you don't follow the recipe, it doesn't turn out. I followed their recipe for 4 months, and it turned out. And I'm a huge fan of being able to take what they know and put it together as a practical application, and you will get results. But I will tell you, it's not an easy thing to do. You really have to want to do it. Because here I had those 2 weeks where I wasn't losing a pound. And you know what he said? He goes, you're not eating enough. I go, what do you mean I'm not eating enough? He says, have a cheater day. Now, I'm an addict. Understand? I've cut out chips, and I could burn a bag of Cheetos in an evening. And I said, I can't. I've thrown this all away. I can't do that. He goes, no, you got to have a cheater day. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, you need to eat more calories. You need to reset your system. Your system isn't really, it's not understanding what you're doing to it. So I went ahead and I had a cheater day. You know, I had a big cheeseburger. I had a banana split with all the stuff on it. I went nuts. Do you know that 3 days later I was down 5 more pounds? All of a sudden, my body is reset. And every once in a while, I have to have a cheater day. But I have to be very, very careful because I, honest to God, am an addict. I mean, I can go, you know, you're talking about the fruit and the nuts. In 4 months, I lost 60 pounds. For the last 6 weeks, I have introduced fruit back into my diet and nuts back into my diet. A little bit of alcohol, maybe a little more.
Tequila.
Really.
Tequila. Yeah.
Okay. But for the last 6 weeks, after losing 60 pounds in 4 months, the last 6 weeks, I have stayed exactly the same way. I'm working out 5 days a week. I'm doing, 4 WODs a week with an active recovery day, and I haven't lost a pound. And it's. Oh, go ahead.
When you first started, even coming 3 times a week was hard, right?
Well, when I first started, 2 times a week was killing me, and I was still doing 3.
Getting out of bed was hard, right?
Pardon me?
Getting out of bed was hard?
Oh, just getting out of. Well, I remember one night after, I don't even remember what the WOD was, but, I was doing it in the evenings, and I went home, and all I could do was crawl up the stairs and get into a hot bathtub and lay there for an hour, because I just, But here's the interesting thing, is that not one of you expected to come in here from a CrossFit standpoint and do all the things that these guys are doing. You came in and you saw them doing those, those pull-ups and the upside down, handstands and lifted 300-pound deadlifts and all that sort of stuff. And then nobody that's starting the CrossFit came in and expected to be doing that right away. What I'm realizing is that with the paleo diet, you're training your body the same way that you'd be training your respiration and training your muscles. You're training your body to now start to recognize what's good for you again. And now anything that has any kind of sweetness in it is way sweet. Now I cheat, I use some agave nectar, but I use a little bit of it because I don't need much. After 6 months, anything that has sweet in it tastes really sweet. I love vegetables. I mean, paleo is in my wheelhouse, luckily enough, because I could sit and eat a steak. I mean, I could have steak for every meal. The downside is the amount of time that you have to take the prep, because you can't just grab something and eat it. The other downside for me is that I have 4 daughters that are all as skinny as rails, and they could eat anything that they wanted. Their metabolism burns it up. So my house is full of chips and candy and chocolate and all that sort of stuff. So I walk through all day and I open up the cabinet and here's 14 different flavors of chips that are calling my name, but I've been able to keep that away, and I'll tell you why. Is because this picture right here, every time that I feel like I want to do a little cheating, I go take a look at that and I remember how I felt prior to doing the paleo and the CrossFit. So it's a struggle in the beginning, but just like anything else, I mean, any of you that are, that have been around for a few months as far as CrossFit, all of a sudden those burpees aren't quite as hard. Those pull-ups, those bands are a little different. You're reducing the weight of those bands. With the diet, it's the same thing. You're retraining your body to handle food differently. It's a matter of a process, and it's not something that's going to happen right away, and I guarantee you, having that last bite of pizza and saying, I'm starting tomorrow, is the hardest thing in the world, to wake up that morning and go, okay, I've started. But it can be done, and it gets easier, and it gets easier, and it gets easier. Right now, I mean, eating the salads and all the different things that are on the everyday list is now really, really easy. And I will tell you that if you want to maintain, add the fruit, have some of those things that are in the gray area. But whatever it takes to keep you on it, I think, is an important thing to do. Now, I do want to just run through a few things that the obvious difference in body shape and the weight is the easy thing to take a look at. But let me tell you some of the other things that have, I've benefited from as far as losing this weight and being able to be on the paleo diet. I had gone to the doctor a year ago, and he wanted to put me on blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine, which I just, hey, my dad, you know, when he was 85 years old, was on 20 different medications, and I just said, I'm not going to start that. So I got involved here. When I started, I was 255. I weigh 195, 196 right now. My blood pressure historically was around 140 over 92, and that was pretty consistent. I'm now down to 118 over 63, and that was like 2 weeks ago. My resting heart rate is in the 70s now. It used to be in the 90s. My cholesterol went from 261 to 226. Still high, but my doctor says that quite honestly may be more of a hereditary, you know, wall that I hit. My HDL went from 32 to 60, and my LDL is still bad. It's you know, went from 195 to 150. It should be around 120, but he really thinks that's probably more of a hereditary thing. But it was a huge drop. My triglycerides went from 171 to 81, and my glucose went from 107 to 81. Now, some of those things mean more to people than others, but the reality is that I today, at 60 years old, am probably healthier than I was when I was 40. And this is after only 6 months of time. Now, 6 months is no time at all. I mean, it's like, it takes longer than that to wait for the iPhone 5. You know, it's like, you know, that's, so understand that doing this is a recipe. It works, but only if you follow the rules. And I will tell you that it's like training anything else. Train your body to like the stuff that's good for you. And as I say, it worked easy for me because I love protein, I love meat, I love chicken, I love, you know, seafood and vegetables. I could sit and eat all day. But getting rid of that junk food, not going to Taco Bell and having a dozen little chip, you know, those little crunchy tacos, as much as I still crave it. You know, it's, if you consider it an addiction and you toss it away and you start getting that you know, those benefits, and you start getting that strength and that extra energy, all of a sudden you start getting addicted to that, you know, more than you do the junk food.
Your taste buds change a little bit.
Your taste buds
right?
definitely change. Your stomach, just the way your stomach handles it changes. Now, I'll tell you one other benefit, and you know, I apologize for being a little graphic, but does everybody know what acid reflux is? Some of you may or may not suffer from acid reflux occasionally. Well, I will tell you that I was having some episodes with acid reflux, and I never went and talked to the doctor about it because I don't like to ask questions that I already know the answer to when I don't like the answer that, okay? So I never went and talked to the doctor about it. But I was having at least twice a week acid reflux issues at night, which is absolutely the worst time in the world to have them because you're sleeping, you're snoring, you get acid up, you ingest it into your lungs, and you wake up absolutely gagging for air. And it could take you a half an hour, 45 minutes to get that cleared out enough where you could go back to sleep. Now, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I will tell you that it's a horrible, horrible feeling. I have not had one episode since I started CrossFit and this diet. Not one. So, it works. I say give it a shot. The Paleo diet, the challenge is what, 6 weeks? Mm-hmm. Do yourself a favor. Try it for 6 weeks, absolutely strict, and see what happens. You know, 6 weeks is not that long. Give it a shot. I highly recommend it.
Good job.